Hello everyone, my name is Carrow Brown. I am an urban fantasy author and I am coming to you with a collab with a group of writers where we talk about our favorite anti-heroes. So this is a collab that was actually organized by Danny from DR Ranger Writing, and he got together with a bunch of us and said, hey, I think it would be cool if we all did a video about our favorite anti-heroes from whichever media that we decided to do it from and post it on the same day at the same time. And I like talking about anti-heroes, so of course my answer to this was a polite hell yes. And in the video description down below, I am going to have links to everybody else's channels so that way you can go and check out what they have to say about anti-heroes and what their favorite anti-hero is, and continuing in this discussion that we're having on this topic. So anti-heroes is actually a very interesting character type when it comes to any kind of storytelling medium, and they've been around for a really long time. Now, for those of you who are not aware, an anti-hero is usually the protagonist that is lacking the required heroic qualities, such as idealism, courage, or whatever the modern morality is. And I want to kind of stress modern morality because a lot of the morals that heroes are following are from their current time period, and sometimes those can be timeless and travel on, and sometimes they can't. So for example, if you look at books that were written like 100 years ago, I know a lot of people are getting really angry about those kind of books because it's not matching the current morality, or they're not taking into account that times have changed, blah 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 blah. But anti-heroes are usually going to not follow whatever the modern morality is. Now, the other thing that makes them an anti-hero is that they are still actually a hero in the sense that they are doing heroic acts, but they are not doing them for heroic reasons. There's self-interest, there's revenge, maybe they're doing it for money, whatever. And then there are typically always define whatever the modern ethical code is. So for example, it's like, well, we can't kill this guy because it's the wrong thing to do. Anti-hero is going to shoot him in the head. Like, that's just how it goes. Now, on the side here, I have a list of all the anti-heroes that I am very familiar with. I like them all very much. They are not my favorite anti-hero, but they are ones that when I have to talk to people about anti-heroes, I do mention them. Some of these are from movies, others are from classical works, some are from anime, and I got a couple here from video games. But the list goes on, and the reason it goes on and on is because this is actually a character type that people really do like. Which kind of brings us to the topic of why do people like anti-heroes? What is it about them that people are drawn to? And there are a lot of different reasons. I've sat in and listened to a whole bunch of conversations on the topic, but these are usually the takeaways that I have whenever I sit in or participate in these conversations. And the first thing that I have on here is that they're not predictable, as in the actions that they are going to take does not follow the same stereotype that a typical hero will do. And this kind of speaks a little bit to their resourcefulness. So when it comes to saving the damsel, are they going to fight the dragon, or are they going to blow the building up and like pick her out of the rubble kind of thing? They're not, it doesn't follow like our expectations, and I think because they defy the expectations, people are a bit more drawn to that. Now, the really big one, and I probably should put this first, is that anti-heroes are often seen as more relatable to the reader or the person who's involved with whatever story medium that this is involved in, whether it be movies or video games or whatever, because they're not perfect, and a lot of them have common backgrounds and ideas that the readers are going to have. And that's something that draws a lot of people, and part of that kind of is involved with the fact that they're flawed as well. They have a lot of flaws, and their flaws often are reflections of modern society and what their flaws are, and people really do identify with that. And their moral complexity also will mirror whatever the complexity that is going on in today's age, and people are also again very drawn to that. I find that when I talk to people about anti-heroes, they say that they're more interested in anti-heroes because they want to know more about them. They want to know what makes them tick. They want to know what made them the way that they are. And that very last one that you see on there, that's not actually from me, that's from one of my friends. And when he and I had this discussion a couple years ago, it still sticks with me. And he always told me that he likes anti-heroes because they're not preachy. And I don't know if he's kind of like tipping his hat towards the comic industry or towards a different medium, but I kind of see what he's talking about, where when you have heroes and they're trying to do the right thing, sometimes when they're talking about doing the right thing, it can come off as a little bit preachy. And if there's one thing that I have learned about individuals, is that they don't like to engross themselves in a medium only to be lectured by one of the characters. It's not their thing at all. So and again, these are just kind of the reasons that I've encountered. If you happen to like anti-heroes, please feel free to like leave your opinion down below about why you like them, or maybe why you don't like them. Feel free to share either or of those. No wrong answers here. Now, we are going to talk about my favorite anti-hero, and if you've been on this channel for a little while, this may not surprise you, but my favorite anti-hero is actually the Punisher from Marvel. He is this motherfucker's my spirit animal, okay? And there's a lot of his background, and of course when you're working with comics, which is the medium that you find him in, you're gonna find that his background and what Frank Castle is gonna change depending on who's writing this goddamn comic. But the core things that I can share with you about Frank Castle is that he is a prior U.S. States Marine. He his catalyst for the why he became the way he is actually because he witnessed his family being murdered in front of him by mobsters. And I've always seen him like in the traditional comics with either Spider-Man or Daredevil, and it's always a very interesting dynamic because when the Punisher shows up and he's in either of those comics, he's really attacking those characters' ideals. And a really good example of this is actually in the Netflix series where Punisher and Daredevil are having that conversation, and it was really intense for me because it was such a powerful moment. Like, I have it like download onto my computer to watch sometimes. It just gives me the chills. Now, the Punisher is not shy about how he needs to get things done, and he will murder, kidnap, extort, coerce, threaten people with violence, and torment them in his battle against crime, which might bring you to the next question, which is, why do I support this character? So the Punisher, like a lot of other characters in comic books, usually depends on who's writing him and what the storyline is and what direction that they're going to take him in. Sometimes he comes in as like this guy who's just going to murder everybody, and he's kind of used as a plot device that way. And other times it is a really it's really insightful, it's really deep, there's a lot of shit that's going on. But the big reasons that I usually like Frank Castle, at least when it comes to the Marvel universe, is that he's just a guy, right? He doesn't have superpowers, he doesn't have any of that. He's flawed as fuck. He was literally like your family guy that lost his family, and he got the sole motivation to just get revenge for his family by destroying the thing that destroyed them, which is crime. Now, I've had this debate with a couple of people, but Frank does have a code of conduct. His thing is that he only wants to murder murderers. He treats mobsters the way that they're treating others, and he always helps the helpless. And a really good example of this is actually going to be back into the Netflix series where there is an incident where Frank thinks that he accidentally murdered a whole bunch of innocent people, and that's where you see him kind of like psychologically break down a little bit. And again that kind of like brings up the point that like he does have that code of conduct. He does want to help people, and he does want to take down bad people in whatever way that he needs to. Now the final reason about why I really like Frank Castle is I'm just biased towards military characters. I grew up in a military family, I served in the military, I married a military person, I am all about that military life, and I'm always really supportive of the Marines because if there's anybody that goes through more shit than them, I haven't met them yet. Now, I do have to tip my hat towards Netflix because I am still absolutely blown away by how amazingly of a job that they did with portraying the Punisher in Daredevil and then in the 2 seasons of the Punisher. Like, it was so well done. The actor is phenomenal. I worship the ground that this guy walks on just because of how much research that he did. Like, he read the comics, he talked to people, and he felt the pressure of knowing that he needed to do the role right. And the little tiny details that they pay attention to in this show is absolutely amazing. Like, I love how that they'll focus on like his trigger finger when he's having like his moments. And the other thing that I also love is just how beat up Frank constantly gets in the show. Like, he's always getting the crap beat out of him, and you can always see that he's always in some kind of period of recovery. Like, the only time I think his face is not beat up is like in the start, and then that's like the last time. After that, he's got like the black eyes, and as you can see, he's pretty banged up. Now, I would recommend this show to everybody. However, due to the nature of Punisher, I can't always say that. There is a lot of obviously violence that is in there, and one of the first intros with Frank Castle, and at least in Daredevil, had to do with his reaction to finding out about something that a pawn shop person was selling, and his reaction to that. And at first I was like, thank God he did that, but a lot of people are going to be freaked out by that. So if you want to watch the show, I do recommend it, but if you are the kind of person that doesn't like this kind of ideology, or you don't like violence, you're probably not going to like the show. So I normally don't do disclaimers like that, but for Frank I kind of have to. So that's pretty much gonna be it. You know, obviously I could probably say a lot more about this topic, but for the sake of making it possible for you to go and see everybody else's videos, I kind of wanted to keep it a little concise and to the point. Now, having said that, I would definitely like to know who your favorite anti-hero is, or if you're somebody who doesn't like anti-heroes, I'd like to know why you don't like anti-heroes. You know, feel free to leave those comments down below. We can have a discussion about it, all that jazz. I'm gonna link up some videos here for some other stuff that I've done if you are curious to see any of my other works down in the description below. I do have links to some of my other work that you can purchase since I am a writer and I could use some ching-ching. Tax season is here. I need some money. Please help. Please send help. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I will have another video up for you guys this coming Friday, and I hope you all have a wonderful week.